How to build a business that funds your travels as opposed to a business which keeps you stuck in the same place. This is a big question that I've been getting a lot of. I'm going to answer it in this video because, as many of you know, I'm currently traveling around the world. This is entirely funded by my business. I haven't had a job for probably 5 years now, and I've been working completely on my own business and growing and scaling that after many failed attempts at other businesses and things like that. So in this video, I'm going to cover the main components of a business which allows you to have location freedom, and how that might affect your time freedom or any other sort of freedom that breaks down the type of business that you have. So tune in, stick along. I'm going to go through three key aspects that I think are most important in a business that's going to allow you to travel and live with a lifestyle with a bit more freedom and movement. And I'm also going to run through, I suppose, the sacrifices that come with that and the things that you're going to have to give up. Okay, so keep in mind that this is going to be completely based on my experience. I'm not an expert. I have a business. I've had multiple businesses, and this is what's worked for me. So I'm going to go through the three different concepts, as I said, that I think really affect your ability to travel as a business owner. And I want to start with the one that I think is probably the most important, particularly from the jump, and that is the business model that you are in. And the type of business that you run. So I think there's three notable business models that you can choose from. I'm going to go from worst to best so you can get an idea of sort of how those will affect your ability to travel and the implications of those. So the third, and I would say the worst business model as somebody who wants to travel, is going to be a physical service business. So any physical service-based business, for example, you could be a Sparky, or doing some sort of trade, and you have your own business as a tradie. Not a bad business, in other regards, but in terms of travel, I'm sure you can understand why it would make it hard for you to travel if you provide a physical service, right? You have to either be there, or you have to develop a system which can take years where you can outsource that service and maybe have somebody else doing the fulfillment for you. Obviously, once you grow your business to this point, then things can become a little bit easier. But you also have to consider the second part in terms of the business model, which is emergency cases, right? You can always travel if you've managed to hire somebody and you've managed to get your business to a point where it can be self-sustainable. But then you also sort of have to factor in sustainability, and sustainability is going to be affected by emergencies, right? If there's an emergency on a job site at home, say, for example, you have somebody working for you and they hurt themselves, and there's nobody else that can handle that situation, you've got work cover and insurances and all these issues, you have to go back to the source and the site to go and deal with that issue. So it's going to break off sustainability, and it's also going to be a massive headache. If you're from Australia and you're in Ireland and somebody on their job site in Australia hurts themselves, you have a 30-something hour flight back to go and deal with that problem. It's going to cost a lot of money, right, and affect, again, the traveling sustainability. So that's number one, and I would say the worst. There are ways to do it and other factors that matter, but there's that one. And I would say number two is going to be a product-based business. Now, product-based business opens up a lot more doors in terms of travel freedom. And so that could be, for example, drop shipping. Drop shipping is fantastic and, probably very close to number one in terms of the business model. Drop shipping can have its emergency issues, of course. And for example, you might have to go to the source, go to the warehouse of a supplier, or go to wherever the product's stored for a recall of a product if something's wrong with it, for example. So you still have that sort of emergency aspect, but there's a much, much lower risk than there is with a physical-based business. So other than that, product-based business is fantastic. You can find your product, source it, sell it to a supplier. Obviously going to vary depending on how you do your fulfillment process. If you have your own warehouse and you have people working there, again, still risks associated with that. And if it's a smaller business and you have just a friend picking and packing and sending out orders, of course, potential for emergency there. But the risk can vary and much cleaner for the sake of traveling than a physical service business. Now, number one, and I may be biased here, again, this is only in my experience and the things that I've seen around me, but number one is naturally going to be a digital service-based business. So a business which is based around providing a service, but that service is done online and can be provided from anywhere. And that's the boat that I'm in. I'm the director of a website development agency. So, we handle service development. We still have a team in Australia, and we also have consultants that work around the world with us that help out in certain projects, if they specialize in what we need to provide for a client. And the beauty of this business is that not only can it be fulfilled from anywhere, much as the product business, and in some cases the physical service business, if you've scaled your business to that point, But in the case of an emergency, if I, for example, need to step in and help within a project in a way that I normally wouldn't, it's not going to affect me on a location basis. There's almost almost zero reason that I would really have to change my location to deal with an emergency in my business, right? Unless, for example, a client was just urging for a meeting in person, in which case, at the point that we're in the business, they would have to wait until I'm going to be there anyway. It's not really something that we would just drop everything for, so a digital service business is naturally going to be the best business for location freedom, but there are other things that sort of implicate into that as well, which I'll cover in the next few points. But for now, I'm going to go hit the gym, leave me with it, and I will get back to you very soon. Alright, so just now finished up at the gym. I want to touch on the second important key point for developing a business that allows you to travel the world as a lifestyle. So as I discussed, the business model in itself is very important. The second and probably second most important thing I would say is the cash flow within the business, and the term that everybody likes to use so much of passive income, or as I prefer to call it, recurring revenue. And this is going to act as a baseline for your travel, and again, the security in your travel and sustainability. So it's very easy as a business owner to save up, not very easy, don't get me wrong, but it's possible, quite possible as a business owner to save up $20,000, $30,000, $40,000. And once you've saved that $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, decide, you know what, I'm going to go travel the world, right? And this is fine if you just want to explore a few places. But if you want to develop a real lifestyle out of traveling, then you need sustainability. You can't just set off with savings and think you're going to be fine, because you never know when an emergency might strike. As I've said, you never know what comes next, and you want to make sure you're secure in that case. So my advice, and the thing that I find to work best, is to ensure that you have at least a minimum of a few $1,000s per month, no matter what you do. If I wasn't to work at all for the month, I know that at least next month I'll have at least a few $1,000s come in, and of that few $1,000s of your passive income or recurring revenue, you want to make sure that your base expenses are less than 30% of that. That doesn't include, say, your personal expenses, but your business, as a business, your business expenses should not be more than 30% of that figure. So then you have at least 70% of whatever that figure is to go towards, again, if there's any emergency, or for some reason you can't do the work or fulfill the business and you can't generate new income for, say, that month, then you know that there's something coming in which can then help you out if you're stuck in a jam wherever you are overseas. The worst scenario is that you've flown halfway across the world, you get stuck there, you have an emergency, say your assets or your bank account is frozen for some reason, so all your money that you had is frozen up somewhere. There's been an emergency in fulfillment, so there's no new income being brought in. Now here's plan C. Fortunately, you had, say, a big Stripe direct debit that comes in at the start of each month, or halfway through each month, or whatever it is, and you can change that bank account to an international bank account and get paid out and have that money ready to be used. So if you don't have some sort of passive or recurring revenue, usually this is going to be built up from your business. It's not just going to be something that you've just randomly turned on and it's just coming in tens of thousands of dollars a month, but something you've built up over the years that can look like maintenance for existing clients or additional work or whatever it might be. Then you can then use that to help fund yourself and keep sustainable in case of any issues or hiccups. And as I said, I've always tried to keep my base expenses under 30% of this figure. I know that that's quite a conservative figure, and I understand that it might sort of put a cap on how quickly my business can scale if I'm only spending such a small portion of revenue. But also security is an important thing for me now, not so much when I was younger, but now, as I continue to travel and explore different places, then that financial security is important to me, because I know that no matter what happens, I've got plenty of cash coming in to get plane tickets out of here, wherever back I need to go, or I have those options available to me. So that's number 2, cash flow. If you're only generating income based on new clients or new work, then you aren't ready to travel as a part of your business lifestyle, right? It's just that simple, because you're putting yourself at massive risk, and it's likely that you're going to get hit with a curveball at some point, and you're not going to be prepared for it. So stay tuned in. I'm about to go get a feed now. We're going to get some lunch, and I will cover the third and one of the, again, 3 most important points in terms of traveling as a business. Right, so as many of you know, I'm currently on the 23-1 diet, which is pretty much 1 meal a day is really what I'm doing. Today's going to be 2 meals because I've just gotten lunch after the gym. So I've gotten the chicken quesadilla with extra chicken and a naked burrito bowl with extra chicken. This 1 meal a day diet is kind of crazy. This is more carbs than I would usually have. But when I get back to the crib, I'm also going to smash down 6 eggs, and that will be me for the day. So leave me to smash this meal, and I'm going to check back straight after with the third part of growing your business while you travel. I just want to check in with the diet, because a lot of people are curious about how 1 meal a day is going and if I like it and how it feels, which I might make a separate video on soon, or even something on Instagram. But for now, it's great. Low carbs has been great, but this will be a bit of a refuel, and I will check in with you very soon. Alright, so I've just now finished up that feed. I filmed that clip and then ate, and then I looked down, and after the 2 meals that I ordered that I showed you, I ate them both and 4 minutes had passed, and I didn't understand why the poor lady who served me was looking at me like I was fucking Godzilla. And it turns out that, yeah, I just put both of those meals down in 4 minutes, which is pretty ridiculous when I think about it. When I'm really hungry, I just eat like crazy. And then I kind of realized how quickly I ate. I like sweat and shit because I'm eating so fast, so that happened. But I want to touch on the third point, the final point, as I said, for building your business while you travel, and that is discipline. I don't know if it's the most important, but it's definitely up there, is discipline. You have to understand that if you've holidayed in your life and you've gone overseas and you've run amok a little bit and had fun, and then you try and sustain that as a lifestyle, it's not going to work. You're either not going to be able to do enough work to sustain it, or there's not going to be enough time to do both when you're trying, and it's going to be messy, so you're not going to be able to have the fun that you're expecting, and then your expectations aren't met and it's just shit. So what I suggest is just understanding and really taking the time to process before you go that you need to make it a lifestyle, not a holiday. And I've said this before, and you know, if you're doing it, inevitably you're gonna, say for example, you're going to a country nearby home, like I am here, and you might catch up with people from home, or any country in the world. You might have somebody you know that's also visiting, and you decide to catch up. And you might hear shit like, oh, let's go do this, we're on holidays. You know, it's a Wednesday night, it's 11 p.m. Oh, let's go to the bar, it's holidays. Because for most people it is holidays, but you have to remember that if it's going to become a lifestyle for you traveling, there is no more holiday, there is no more vacation. You've removed vacation from your life because that's your lifestyle. So I don't really know how you would vacation from holidaying. Obviously some places, if you plan ahead, you might put some time aside to go a little bit more crazy, but you really have to take that time and focus and stay locked in. Especially if you want to continue scaling your business. It's not only one thing to sustain your business and traveling, but also to continue growing the business. Traveling can be a killer. So I think discipline is the third most important part of the 3. But really understanding that, as I've said before, that when you're traveling, as you grow a business, you're really just changing the background behind your laptop. You know, you're really just changing what's going on behind your work, and not changing your entire life. Because if you reduce from, say, 8 to 10 hours a day of work, which might be what you were doing at home, and you go down to 3 to 4 hours a day, inevitably your business is going to crumble, and again, your sustainability is going to be all out of whack. You're going to end up in an emergency situation. Hopefully you have the other 2 in check and you can get yourself back to safety, but in any case, it's going to negatively affect your ability to continue traveling. So those are the 3 main things: your business type, your cash flow, and your discipline. If you have any other questions about the structure of my business and the way that I've grown my business to be able to travel 24/7, you know, I can continue traveling and continue sustainably living that way, drop them on the comments. Otherwise, like, subscribe, and leave a message either here or on Instagram, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.